What's up guys, Josh Luck here. In today's video, I'm going to go over how to choose a business name and some best practices when settling down on your name. But before I do that, I want to say a huge thank you. We just hit 100 subscribers on this channel. I know I mentioned it in the last video that we were close, but since that video we've soared past it and we're sitting at 130 right now. So I am immensely grateful for it. It's a huge milestone, and I really didn't think it would be here this quick. So I'm extremely grateful for every one of my subscribers, and I just wanted to say thank you before we begin this video. So choosing a business name is probably one of the most important parts about starting your business, because whatever you choose in the beginning, you're not stuck with it, but you're going to have it for a long time, and it's going to be the identity of your brand. So you want to make sure it's meaningful, it's memorable, it's good. You don't want to have a bad business name, but there's a lot that goes into it. So in this video, we're going to talk about some tips and best practices for that. But before we jump into that, I want to say something that's very important, and that is whatever business name you choose, you want to make sure there is a domain and social profiles available for it. And what that means is you don't want to choose something that someone already has, so that whenever you go to buy a domain, it's either taken, or if you make a social profile, you can't find the @ handle. So you want to make sure whenever you choose is available on the digital space. And let's jump into GoDaddy, and I'll show you how to actually do that. So whenever you do have a name, you can make sure it's available. Alright, so we're here in GoDaddy, and don't worry if you don't have a business name yet. We haven't gotten to the tips yet. I just wanted to make this clear at the beginning of the video because it's very important. So at GoDaddy.com, up here at the top, you can search a domain. So whenever you do have your business name in the future, you can search that name and .com to make sure that the domain is available. So let's do Wallamoose.com. And whenever you search, you can see if it's either available or not available. In this case, it's not available because I already own it. But what that tells you is someone already has either a business with your name or the domain with your name. So you can either find like a substitute domain, which I really wouldn't recommend, or you can just go back to the drawing board and find a domain that is more unique and available. So I don't want to say if you have the perfect name, don't use it if there's no .com available, but it's certainly something to think about. You want to make sure whatever you choose, it's available online, on social media. That way, whenever customers search you in the future, you can make sure you have everything coherent and attached back to your brand. So that's just something to think about. But enough of that. Let's jump into the actual tips of what to think about when naming your business, which is why you're here. So let's get started. Alright, so the first tip I have for you is don't squeeze yourself into too tight of a niche when naming your business. And what that means is you want to make sure that obviously your name reflects your niche and reflects your business, but you don't want to be so specific that if ever you want to expand in the future, you won't be able to. So let's say Julie has a jewelry business. That's kind of a tongue twister. But let's say she named it Julie's Necklaces. And then in the future, she's like, oh, I want to sell earrings as well, or I want to sell bracelets. The problem is she named her business Julie's Necklaces. So when people see that she sells earrings and bracelets, they're going to be kind of thrown off and be like, I thought it was necklaces. So what she should have done in the beginning was give herself enough room to expand and name it Julie's Why did I do this? It's such a tongue twister. Julie's Jewelry. That way she could do multiple things. And so I hope that makes sense. But essentially you don't want to squeeze yourself in too tight with either a single product in your name or not give yourself room to grow. And on the contrary, you don't want to be too broad. So name your business just jewelry. There's no defining factors. There's obviously millions of jewelry shops. Jeez, I need to choose a better example. But essentially you don't want to be too broad, as well as you don't want to be too narrow. So be the perfect amount of specific. And the second tip, I didn't mean for this to happen, but it kind of goes with the tongue twister of Julie's Jewelry, whatever. You want to make sure your name is easy to say and easy to spell. And so you don't want to have some crazy long name with like 20 letters, because people are going to have a hard time saying it and a hard time spelling it. And if they have a hard time spelling it, they're going to have a hard time searching it. So you want to make sure it's concise, legible, easy to memorize, easy to type. That way people can search and find you pretty easily. Now, if you're at the very beginning and you're just completely lost and you don't know where to start at all, what you need to do is start by brainstorming and writing down a few words that relate to your business or relate to yourself and kind of give you a starting point of where to begin. So what you should do if you don't have anything to start with is break down what you will be doing or what you'll be selling and find keywords that match that. So let's say you're selling guitars. Just get out a piece of paper and write down every single word you can think, not every single word, but write down a lot of words that you can think of that associate with guitars. So maybe I'll write down guitars, music, strings, neck, maybe your location, Fender, I don't know. I don't really know much about guitars, but essentially write down a whole bunch of words that associate with what you're doing and then get pretty specific with it. Like, write down words about how you feel about guitars. Like, does it make you feel happy? Does it make you feel excited? So get down to some words, some emotions, and some feelings about your product. And then once you do that, write down some names that are specific to you. Maybe your name, maybe some nicknames, maybe something that's important to you. So like, maybe you learned how to play guitar on Main Street, so you can call it Main Street Guitars, or something that's personal to you and why you are doing what you're doing. And this list can get pretty abstract, but the longer your list, the better chance you have of picking out something that fits your brand or fits your potential brand name. And then the fourth tip, I think we're on 4, is make it personal. And obviously you don't have to make it personal if you don't want to. This is just kind of a good starting point if you don't really know what to do. So like in my previous example, if someone learned how to play guitar on Main Street, name it Main Street Guitars, that's personal to them. It doesn't have to make sense to your customer as long as it's not so obscure that they can't tell what your business is about. Now, I will have a little disclaimer. When I named my channel Wallamoose, it is a personal thing to me. I, at one time, owned a coffee shop, but it ran out of business. It was kind of a failed business venture, but it's still very near and dear to my heart. It was called... And even though right now my channel is all about digital entrepreneurship, has nothing to do with coffee, mooses, or whatever Walla means, I still wanted to stay true to that name that was so personal to me, the Vanilla Moose, and kind of spin it in a different way that I could still use that real estate or use that business name. So I landed on Wallamoose simply because it's personal to me and I like it. So even though that doesn't mean anything related to entrepreneurship, Etsy, and when people see it, they probably won't know what it means. But it was personal to me and I plan on growing it for a long time. So I want to build this brand recognition along in the future. So in the future, when people do see my name, they'll say, oh, that's the YouTube channel, or that's Josh, or whatever. So that's one thing to note. If you choose a name that is obscure and doesn't directly show what niche you are in, it is more difficult to get brand recognition. But if it's really personal to you and you want to stick with it for a long time, it could be worth the investment. So similar to how Coca-Cola, back in the day, Coca-Cola, you'd say like, what's that? And it's like, oh, it's a drink business. And you're like, well, that doesn't make any sense. But nowadays, they have done billions and billions of dollars in marketing. So now that when we think Coca-Cola, we're like, oh, that's the drink brand. Or when you see Pepsi, you're like, oh, that's the off-brand, or that's the other Coca-Cola company. So even though it doesn't mean anything related to drinks, they've done so much marketing that we associate it with it now. So think about that if you're choosing a name that is either a made-up word or something not related to your brand. You're going to have to do more marketing and brand recognition to build that up over time. But that's not to say it won't be worth it and it's not a good business name, because I personally think Wallamoose is a good name. I like it. I'm attached to it, but I will need to build upon it over time. And number 5, keep it short and simple. You don't want to have something super long like Kate's, calendars, and printables for summer. That's a super long name. It's kind of stupid. I just came with it off the top of my head. But you want to make sure it's short and simple. Wallamoose, short, simple, memorable. People remember it. So you don't want to like run your business on too long. That's also good to think about if you're having a logo made. Long text on logos don't really fit too well. So you want to keep it concise and memorable. And then number 6, sorry, my camera died. I ran out of memory in my card, so I have to switch to this webcam. Apologize for the quality decrease. But number 6 is to take your time and think it through. Because again, your business name is going to stick with you for a long time. So you don't want to just do it on a whim or within like an hour. You really want to make sure you think it through. Maybe write down some names. Get some feedback from people, see what they say. maybe sleep on it and then sketch some other names, see if you like those better. So the main thing for coming up with a good business name is writing out a whole bunch of different options, see what sticks. Something will jump out to you on the page if you have a whole bunch of names, and then just make sure it meets the criteria. It's short, it's easy to memorize, it's not taken on any social or domains or anything like that. And then remember, if you're using a made-up word or something that's not directly related to your niche, that you will have to spend more marketing budget to build up your brand recognition. But I don't want to discourage you from choosing a name that is like that, because obviously my name is Wallamoose. I can't say anything bad about it because I did that myself. So just think about it when going into your business name if you're making up your name. And then finally, you want to make sure you get some peer review. But I do want to say this: if you are really loving your name, if it means a lot to you, if you're really stuck on it, it's available on all these domains and social platforms, and then a few people are like, ooh, I don't really like that, maybe you should change. Don't take their criticism too hard. No one business name is going to be loved by everyone. So if you have a few negative feedbacks, but if you really like your name, don't worry about it. I don't know if I should tell the story, but Wallamoose, my wife actually didn't like that name when I first made it, but I was like, I'm going to go with it because I really like it. It was personal to me, and so I'm sticking with it now. And we're at 130 subscribers, so I guess it's working out pretty well. But don't take negative feedback too hard if it means a lot to you. Go for it, because in the end, it's your business. If it makes you happy, you'll have more motivation to carry it forward. So I hope this helped. That's just some things to think about when making your business name. If you're stuck, just start from the ground up, write some keywords and brainstorm on a piece of paper. Something will stick out to you eventually. And then if you're still not getting it, just sleep on it. It'll come to you eventually. Just make sure you keep in mind those things I talk about in this video. So thanks for watching. Again, thank you for over 100 subscribers. If you're new here and would like to subscribe, I post twice a week, and I apologize. Usually I have better camera quality than this at the end, but my camera died. So yeah, I hope you liked this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.